So, Keith from Patriot Warrior Media, thank you so much for talking to Liberty One TV. I know there's a lot that's been going on with you as far as kind of your backstory. And without kind of giving it all away, from what I hear, you essentially kind of went undercover and did some investigative journalism, correct?
Yeah, a little bit since February, the Milo protest. Well, not so much undercover there, but that's kind of when I started with the Milo protest riot kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And what exactly, I mean, when we're talking investigative undercover journalism here, we're talking essentially you went undercover as an Antifa member, correct?
Yeah, as an Antifa member or Antifa supporter, I would like dress in black or black and gray, and like I have a shirt that says no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA, you know, like that BAM loves. And if you dress in black and wear that black shirt, then they think you hate Trump and like you fit right in. And for whatever reason, they never really objected to me. The first time that I really hung out with Antifa and talked to them and filmed was at the March 4th Battle of Berkeley. Mm-hmm. And I talked to Yvette Filarka, and we all know her. And then from then on, it was really easy. Like every event that I've ever gone to and filmed, which is like about a dozen or so, I've always filmed with the Antifa, filmed them, filmed the other side, and there's never really been a problem.
Mm-hmm. And then when was it that, I guess let's start with this. What did you learn while going undercover with Antifa? What was, like, for example, right now there's a big thing in the news cycle going around about there's an Antifa manual that was found at the Greensboro, I believe there's a Greensboro Park, where it's a manual of they're saying, resist at all costs, violence at all costs. Were some of the I guess the quote propaganda that's out there, did you find some of that to be true? And what other things can you tell us that you learned while going undercover as an Antifa member?
Couple things. One thing that I found particularly interesting was actually in June 4th at the Portland Joey Gibson rally. Mm-hmm. And it was 2 days after a supposed white supremacist, attacked and killed these people that were defending the girl on the train. Mm-hmm. So, of course, the whole city was up in arms against us. They were convinced that we were white supremacists. But and so I hung out with them for about 5 hours, the Antifa recording and stuff. And so then I talked to them a little bit here and there. And I found it was interesting that Joey Gibson and most people on the right are always talking about, let's have a dialogue, let's talk. We don't want to fight. We're not here to attack you. We want to talk and learn from each other. So, in talking to Antifa, it was like they believed that if they were to cross over and talk to any of the patriots, they would be attacked and killed on the spot regardless of police presence. Mm-hmm. And I talked to 5 or 6, and they were all felt the same way. And I thought, well, maybe they're all in the same meeting and they're getting kind of indoctrinated the same way. So I went over to another street where there was a bunch of labor workers and some general just Portland public. And I began talking to them. And I'm like, okay, why don't you talk to the other people? They want to have a dialogue. Those guys right over there, they want to have a dialogue with you guys. They're not here to attack or hurt anybody. And they were saying the same thing. That's like, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. If we walked over there, they would kill us. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is like talking to a father of kids, talking to a retired gentleman, talking to, a younger person. And it's like, wow, it's like the mainstream media has done a fantastic job of poisoning America's minds against Trump supporters to the point where everybody thinks that we're going to kill them, that we're the fascists, we're the Nazis, we're the racists, regardless of race, that we're going to kill them, and we don't really want to have a dialogue. We're just going to try to trap them and get them.
So now, when you're going through all of this, did they ever find out that you really weren't an Antifa member?
Not then, but when I was in in San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Francisco, filming impeach Trump protest. Mm-hmm. And I was with them again, and there was, a couple thousand, or maybe not even 1,000, and there was kind of an altercation. One of the guys from Revolutionary Communist Party recognized me from some other thing and got really angry, got in my face. I was filming with a friend who is another independent journalist. One of the Antifa came up behind him and like drew his finger across his throat like he was going to slit his throat. And so then it was kind of an altercation, but finally people calmed down. And I got to talking to one of the Antifa that were there. And he was like, you know what, I'm not down for attacking people over political beliefs. I think that we should protest, but it should be peaceful protest. He said, I've never attacked anybody. I would never do that. And I don't believe in that. And so then he even like unmasked himself. And so we talked for a little bit, and, and I realized that this is probably not a bad guy. Maybe he's been a little bit messed with his head as far as what he believes, but it might be that some of our beliefs might not be too far apart. And I think that a part of my whole purpose was, it's like, I want to talk to the other side and try to bring the gap a little bit closer together. And because when people can't talk, there's really nothing left to do. And then you have, like what happened in Berkeley. Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes down to, when they found out that you weren't really an Antifa member, have you been targeted? Have you, you, as they call it, being after you're doxxed, how has this affected your life, your family life, your personal life? What has your life been like since?
Well, I got doxxed in June. I don't know if it was right before the Portland thing or right after the Portland thing. It was probably right before the Portland, or right after it. Someone sent me a link that my picture was on It's Going Down, and I believe it was because I reported on the Eric Clanton arraignment in Oakland, and there were people there, and so somehow they got my picture. They figured out that the town I lived in, and they said some things like I was a far-right, anti-government, something or other. And then, so then when I went back for the second part of the Eric Clanton arraignment, then there was a bunch of posters scattered around Oakland that had my picture on it. And that time they were calling me a 4chan troll, which kind of funny because I've never spent more than 5 minutes on 4chan. I'm not sure why they put that on there, but so it really never affected me. I mean, I pay more attention to where I go and what I do because I live among Berkeley Antifa, or I work among them. But it hadn't really affected me until they put a hit out on me.
And what was the hit?
So I didn't find out until after the fact. No, in fact, no one knew about it until after the fact. But they had gone to my YouTube channel and found out that I had been amongst them, filming them for the past 7 months at all the different events. And so obviously I have on video crimes that they've done. Mm-hmm. And they took exception to it. And basically that day I was like the prize trophy Sunday. And so there were two girl spotters that were on the lookout. And when they discovered me, then they not radioed in, but they whatever, texted in or whatever information. And then, the group came, and I'm told there were about 20 or 30 that were beating on me. But what I remember, most of the incident, I don't remember. But I remember, I was down and filming on Alston, filming a whole mess of them, and just a huge black block. And I heard someone say, there's that racist piece of shit who's doxing you and ruining your lives. And I'm like, oh no, this is not going to end well. So I thought, all right, I'm just going to run out of there. There's no way I can defend myself. There's too many. Mm-hmm. And like I took a step, and a stick or something went smashing down on my camera, knocking my camera and monopod out of my hand. And so I just decided I'm going to grab that and run. So I started to reach for it, and the next one hit me in the head. And then they just kept like hitting me over the head. I went down, and this guy with had a metal pole and was just with both hands just swinging it down on me, just repeatedly hitting me. Another guy was punching me. They were stomping on me, kicking me. I couldn't do anything. They ripped my backpack off. I managed somehow to get it over my face or bury my face in it, so they didn't mess up my face. But and the whole time, it's like I've seen Antifa beat people, but I've never like seen that much rage. I mean, they were just like screaming and just they were really, really angry, and I was sure I was going to die. It's like, okay, I was stunned. I can't do anything. I don't know. I was probably barely conscious. It looks like I was hardly even conscious in the video when they picked me up. But yeah, I thought I was going to die. I pictured my kid's face and thought, I hope this is quick. Really, I can't last 5 minutes of this. It's too damn painful. And then it stopped, and I didn't know why. I didn't know that this guy saved me. I have no recollection of any of that. I felt someone standing me up, and I thought, oh my God, they're going to stand me up so they can really get at me and do the damage. Because I was kind of trying to protect my vital organs or whatever. So they stood me up, and then I couldn't believe it when like they were shoving me or letting me go basically. And so I tried to run. I couldn't run, so I was kind of like hobbling down the street. And like, I don't know, half a dozen of them were still following me, yelling threats and things. And so then I turned down this other street, and they followed me. And then like a couple cop cars, Berkeley police, started coming up the street towards me really slow. And I thought, oh my gosh, finally, they're going to do something. I'm going to get out of this alive. And another citizen was there, and so he ran over to the cops, and he said like, hey, this guy just got his ass kicked. You need to call an ambulance. You need to help him. And he was pointing at me, yelling, and the police just slowly drove right on by, ignoring him. And so I had to keep going and went down to the end of the block, these guys harassing me, threatening me, until I found my car. And then I was like, okay, if I go for my car, if they really want to, they can run after me and get me before I could even get in the car started. But if I don't go for it and try to go around the block, they might get bored, decide to get me anyway. So I thought, okay, I'm going to run for my car. So I ran for the car, got it open, and got in, and I just drove off. I drove around, and then I called Robert from CSC and media, and he said, get somewhere safe. And then I called him again, and like a caravan of 5 cars with guys just swooped in and brought a medic and checked me out and stuff. So
the big question is a lot of people are saying that the police stood down. The police could have done more. It sounds like from your situation that might have been the case, but I don't want to assume on your behalf. Do you think the police could have done more?
Yeah, I mean, backing up a little bit, in the first part of the day, I got there about 9 o'clock in the morning, or even earlier. But the first part of the day, there was a perimeter around the park. There were like barricades. There was an opening on Martin Luther King. There was an opening on Melvia Street. And there were police on the outside. There were police in groups on the inside. And then there were some people there, and they were giving interviews, and mainstream media was there, and there were other journalists there. And I thought, okay, this is going to be kind of a low-key event, good for optics, and that's it. But they wouldn't allow us to have any defensive gear. Patriots couldn't have helmets. They couldn't have any kind of defensive gear whatsoever. So then probably about, 12 o'clock maybe, or maybe a little bit later, they let about 200 Antifa come right through the Melvia Street opening with their masks on. They didn't unmask them, so now 200 Antifa, who everybody knows they hate us, and the mainstream media is whipping them, everybody into a frenzy, and they let them in with us with no resistance. They just said, come right on in. And then they start ejecting patriots. They find someone, they surround him, they start screaming and yelling. But then the police were there, so the police would move in, they would make sure that the people didn't get hurt, and they just, they'd force them out. And they just happened person after person after person after person. But at some point, maybe 2 o'clock, then members of BAM came with their loudspeaker system, and then this huge platoon of Antifa came marching in and stood on Martin Luther King. And then there was like thousands. But the police were there, and they had riot gear on. They put their gas masks on. And I thought, okay, they're just going to drop a few, what do you call them, gas things, and then clear the park. And so then I turned around to film something else. I turned back around, and they were gone. And I was like, what happened to the police? And so then there was an announcement, and someone announced the police have stood down, and then like a sea of black, and Antifa just poured into the park. And then they started getting more physical. Whoever was left, which there was hardly anybody, any patriots left, they would surround and then start to beat on them. It wasn't real vicious, but they were still doing it and forcing them out. And so then like a group of them went down on Alston Way. And that's when, I went down there to see what they were doing. And that's when that whole mess happened with me. And then I gather from other people that then later, after I was attacked, then the police came back and cleared the park. Mm-hmm. But for long enough, they should have never let 200 Antifa in the first place.
Well, in defense of the police, in defense of the police, do you think that maybe one of the reasons they stood down was because there were so many and they couldn't do anything? Like they knew they couldn't do anything, or from what you saw, did it look like the police had a chance at all, or was it that they had a chance, they just didn't do anything?
I think they could have and should have prevented the initial Antifa from coming into the park. That was just crazy. Mm-hmm. They knew there was going to be a problem. You have to be an idiot to not know that there would be a problem.
And you said you got at the park early that morning, correct?
Yeah, I was there about 8 o'clock or 8:30 or something.
And you said, what time did Antifa start coming in, just to kind of get a timeline here?
I think it was probably around 12 or something, I think.
Okay. And so when did you look around and realize, okay, this is almost like a war zone. Like this is not good. Was it when they first came? Because from what I'm gathering is that it started at 1, or was scheduled to start at 1. You as a member of the media get there at 8 a.m. These guys are there at noon.
Yeah.
It sounds like it got bad before it was even supposed to start.
Well, there's mixed stories because it was canceled. So it was unofficial. Whoever was there unofficially, and there were large contingents of people that decided not to go because most people thought it was a setup. I would have gone if there had been one person there or only Antifa there just to report on the event. Doesn't matter, I would have been there. Mm-hmm. But there was not very many people when they let the Antifa in. And the police did a little bit of protecting when they were evicting patriots. Mm-hmm. But there were enough police and enough barricades that they could have prevented that first group of Antifa very easily. Mm-hmm. All the police were in riot gear. They could have just, they had those guns that shoot the pepper spray stuff. Mm-hmm. They could have kept the Antifa from going, that first group at least. And as far as your other question, okay, what about when the Antifa were massed against them, 4,000 or whatever? How come all of us knew that was going to happen? And we're not even intelligence experts. We're just plugged into what's going on. We knew that would happen. That's why most people stayed away. So the police had to know that there were going to be a boatload of Antifa there. So they could have either A, pulled people from other districts or precincts or whatever you want to call it, and had enough people and just start gassing everybody, because there wasn't very many. I don't know if there was any Antifa that were prepared for gas or not. Maybe some were, probably were, but they could have put it down with tons of tear gas or whatever they used. Or why didn't they call in, I don't know, National Guard or people from everywhere else? They could have done that prior to the event. They had to have known that thousands would be there. but they didn't want to stop it.
So now moving
Period.
forward,
That's what I believe.
Moving forward, I mean,
sorry?
I was saying moving forward, what do you do now from here? I mean, do you continue to cover events like this? Are you going to continue kind of exposing what you're saying Antifa is doing after you said, you know, you almost could have been killed?
Yeah. I'm going to lie low in another state for a couple weeks. And when I get back, I'm going to have to find some other place to live. And I will continue to cover events. I'm going to cover the Ben Shapiro one on September 14th, which Antifa and BAM have already said they will close it down no matter what. And I'm going to cover the Milo Week starting on the 24th at the same place, UC Berkeley. And I'm going to have to hire bodyguards because Antifa are very angry that their plan failed, their hit failed, and they're not happy about it right now. They're super pissed off. So I'm pretty sure that if we tangle again, I won't be as lucky as I was. So I got to have bodyguards because I'm not going to stop. You know, everybody that's out there has a good reason not to be out there. Everybody has family. Everybody has kids. Everybody has someone who loves them. Everybody can point to a reason and say, okay, I'm not going because of this or this or this or this. And if we all did that, you know, the other side would win. So people have to be willing to make some kind of a sacrifice. And so it's just, I got to figure out, okay, how can I stay as safe as I can possibly stay and still doing what I'm doing? And, you know, if it wasn't for the support of people everywhere, people I don't even know, this would be 100 times worse. I mean, they stole all my equipment, all the footage. I had some amazing footage from Sunday, like all really close up of, you know, the fights, stuff that was going on, and they got my my cameras with my SD card, so I have no footage at all. So it was kind of like a complete, you know, waste for me in one sense, but in the other sense, because of what everybody's doing and because of the work that that Robert's doing for CSC Media and making sure that this all blows up, that we're going to be able to change the narrative and override the narrative that mainstream media is going to be putting out. So we might have got beat up and lost on the street that weekend, but we can win the other war, you know, in changing the narrative and making sure that there's not a disaster when Ben Shapiro speaks, because they're going to be emboldened. You know, they won this time. They're going to be emboldened and more determined to go into UC Berkeley and stop it. So we're going to make sure that that doesn't happen, and we're rallying people all over the place, and we're going to come out there and make sure that Ben's protected, that the students are protected, and the school doesn't get destroyed.
Anything else that you think is good to know or good to add as far as that day, or anything else that you want to kind of put out there for people to know that aren't going to hear it on the mainstream media?
You know, I just, as far as to journalists, just anybody who's thinking about doing this or anybody who's doing it, you know, for a while we've been relatively safe, or as safe as you can be in a riot, because we haven't really been targeted. You know, it's not to say you won't get hit in the head with a brick while you're looking somewhere else filming, but if you're not targeted, you're kind of safe, I guess. So people need to understand that the tide has changed, and now they're back to, and I'm not the only media person that got targeted. There are 3 other people I know of that they targeted some. And so anybody who's doing this needs to know that they might become a target, and just be aware that you're putting yourself in danger by being out there now, you know. Antifa will get you, or will at least try to steal your stuff. I guess they stole one guy's equipment. I don't know who it was, but they were trying to get his stuff or something. So, and then what was your other question, or what was the rest of the question? I forgot.
Just anything else that you think people should know? Yeah.
And just people need to keep listening to, you know, independent media and people like yourself, and and other people that aren't mainstream media that are putting out, the real news, and that are on the ground reporting what's really going on, and not listened to after it's already been spun by whatever MSNBC or CNN or Washington Post or whoever, so that they get the real story and what's really going on, and to support the people who are putting their lives on the line to.
Guys, there's really not much that I can say following that. I mean, the guy goes above and beyond. He was on the phone with me. He was in contact with me all day, giving me updates, telling me what was going on, telling me where the cops were, telling me what Antifa was doing. About the time he got attacked was the time where I was like, hey, get out of there. It's going to get rough. And he was on his way out, and then he gets attacked. It's people like Kieth that we need in this country. The people that literally go and put their lives on the line so they can get us the footage, the truth, the stuff that the mainstream media just isn't going to tell you. I am asking every single one of you guys to go to the link and donate. Help him out. He's got medical bills. He got doxxed, and literally, and I'm not going to get into too many details. However, his life has been destroyed because of lies, because of misinformation, because of defamation from these idiots, from these terrorists on the left. He needs your help, guys. And I am asking, I am begging for everybody who watches this video to literally click the link in the description. It's also in the credits that are going to be rolling here in a second. Click the link, help him out. This guy deserves more than just being helped out because he got jacked up. This guy deserves a reward for the things that he's done. At the very least, help him out so he can get his equipment back. The footage that he got is now that's now gone because they stole his stuff, they destroyed his stuff. Yeah, guys, help him out. Donate now. He needs it.
Free thought for free people.